Welcome to Loot for Builders. In this channel, we plan to document the evolution of the Loot project ecosystem, and to offer some thoughts about what's happening here, and why it might be interesting. We'll also be creating some technical content to help out those who want to build their own projects in the Loot ecosystem. The NFT market is one of the first outside of the conceptual art market to allow people to buy and speculate on pure ideas. This makes understanding how these ideas work within the ecosystem and how they gain or lose value important. In this video, we're going to talk about a new concept put forward by Dylan Field, the CEO of Figma, called the NFT chain rule. The core of the idea is that projects which capture the community imagination spawn offshoots, and those offshoots reinforce the value and importance of the original idea. He describes this as the meme economy, something which outside of NFTs has increasingly been spilling over into normal reality. Dogecoin is one such example, an obvious joke currency which skyrocketed in value during 2020. The power of Doge was that, like Bitcoin and Loot, it wasn't controlled by a centralized organization, having been renounced by its creator Jackson Palmer. In his thread, Field also points to the traditional art world, which celebrates artists who found movements and approaches which attract followers and participants. The art world loves schools of thought, movements and scenes, since they are narrative entry points to understand and contextualize sometimes abstract works of art. Narrative creates surface area for people to relate to, understand, and allows them to tell stories about things like the abstract expressionist paintings of Jackson Pollock, for example. Fields points out that in the Wild West of NFTs, many projects are mimetic derivatives. He notes that all the profile picture projects are descendants of CryptoPunks. As people trade these projects, a large portion of the value may accrue to the original meme, in this case punks. The most interesting NFT projects are on-chain, with a unique point of view and potential to create many derivatives. No project exemplifies this potential more than the Loot project. Loot project adheres perfectly to Field's NFT chain rule, because it is a seed that spawns and directly invites derivatives. The emptiness and simplicity of fantasy-inspired black and white images of text is both evocative, but also leaves negative space for the imagination of new participants. Like Dogecoin, the lack of ownership by an individual or a company invites community participation. It feels like something being discovered together, not something being sold or marketed. Loot has immediately spawned a huge list of derivatives because of this, many of which are simple copies, parodies or cash grabs that have no interoperability or relationship to one another. Many of these branches will wither and die due to a lack of connection to one another. They're dead ends. Field asks the important question: in the world of Loot project, how can we tell which derivatives matter? This brings us back to the chain rule. A derivative's value is proportional to the number of derivatives based on it. The degree to which these derivatives can play a part in a system of connected projects and entities will determine how interesting and useful, and therefore how valuable they will be. Some derivatives seem to have recognized this early and are attempting to send out feelers towards other projects, including Loot itself, and building things which interoperate. This is also why, on a technical basis, encoding as much data as possible on-chain is important. The data needs to be available within the smart contract to allow other primitives to read from it and build relationships. The release of Loot was the creation of a single Lego brick, one which inspired a community. With the first wave of derivatives and expansions, we have a bucket of Lego dumped on the floor. What comes next is the building of relationships between the pieces by attaching them to one another, and out of this process it will become clear which are useful and valuable and which are not. Let's see what happens next.